This is how I learned to hit the ball over 300 yards, and I'm not even strong. I can't even do 10 push-ups. I'm going to show you what I discovered as a young kid on how to generate more speed and get more distance. I'm also going to give you Pro Mo, a professional golfer I know who averages over 320, how he does it. James Wiltshire, a fellow YouTuber, is going to show us how he does it as a former long drive professional. And my coach, Eric Chong, is going to show you how I generate speed in his eyes from a mechanic's point of view. Now, I did some thinking when I was a kid. I thought to myself, you know, if this arm is supposed to stay straight and the wrist, it doesn't actually break at impact, then there's not much power coming from my left arm. If I hit a golf ball just left-handed, I mean, I can't generate much more speed than that. But on the right arm, I realized you hinge the right wrist, you can bend the elbow, and the shoulder opens up this way to create a lot of power being stored here, and the left arm is just kind of hanging here. So I thought, okay, well, hang on. If I can hit the ball with right arm only, I mean, that's far. That's like, I don't know, 5 times the distance of the left arm. But when I watch a lot of guys play golf and there's not much power, it's almost as if they unhinge this stuff all up at the top of the swing. So it's not unhinging on the way down into the ball. It's already at impact position back here, and then there's no power coming through the golf swing. You often see people talk about skipping stones, which is a pretty similar idea. We take the left arm and we throw the ball. It can only go maybe 15 yards. When I take the right arm and I use all these levers, the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, you just throw balls much further with very little effort. Now, that may not ring true with you. Maybe you never skipped stones before, but look at a baseball pitcher. How can they throw a baseball faster than a cricketer? Because a cricketer has to do a run-up. He's only allowed to flick his wrist in cricket. We can't bend the elbow, but in baseball you get that full wind-up and use all the levers in the arm to throw the ball. So I understood that the power came from the right side. And I understood this very clearly as a kid. When you get a golf club and you turn around, what does this become? It becomes a sword. So you start slashing at plants, and you try to cut them so that the top of the plant cuts off cleanly and falls straight down. You don't try and cut like this. You cut, and you make that swooshing sound right at the point you want to smack that plant. It's the same in the golf swing. When you learn how the hips work, as I did, now you start to add another level of power. We have the power from the right arm unhinging like crazy, the left arm's guiding everything, only using just one of your levers. Now you have your central system, which are your hips and your spine. But I used to think that when you had to rotate your hips, you rotate them like that, you know, rotate, right? No. I was swaying with my arms doing most of the motion, and I didn't have a concept of rotation. Because every time someone told me to rotate, I'd rotate, but what I was doing was spinning my hips around. But that only took me so far, very armsy swing, until I went for my first ever lesson at the ripe age of 35 years old. And what I learned with my coach, Eric Chong of Impact Golf Malaysia, he changed my entire life because I didn't have the concept of the swing correct. Your hips are like a lever system. You pull that lever back, the other lever just goes forward. But on the way down, you've got to get these levers back to those positions, but the lever goes back and there's a slight left bump, and then the levers rotate. Bam, bam. It's not about spinning, it's about lever system. Boom. That's why Eric gave me the lawnmower drill. Or the pocket drill. Pull your pocket back. And that's the feeling I got. The arms give you a lot of speed. A lot of speed. But then once you combine that with the central system, which is your hips and your spine, you know, you're always seeing them talking about rotating and, you know, rotating around your spine. Now, when you get your hips working like those joysticks, just going straight back and straight through, and you've got that right arm whooping, like you're throwing a baseball underhand, like you're skipping stones, and then your left hand becomes adept at guiding the club face. Everything works together to create maximum speed. Hey, that's what I do. I hit the ball over 300 yards. Is it right? We'll see if Eric agrees.
So a big thing, once you have a platform to work off, you can really try and get this part just in an order of importance, I'd love to see this as active as possible, getting a base to really just smack it out. You try hitting a shot with very, very small feet, like a couple inches apart, and just try and smash it as hard as you can with your hands, your arms, and your forearms, as far as you can and as hard as you can, and see how far the ball goes. And then you take the normal stance, and then you try and just think only hip rotation, clearing. All right, and just feel like all of this is dead. Your hands and your arms are dead, but all you're trying to do is just rip the hips. I guarantee you're going to make much better contact trying to get your hands and arms and forearms just going, rather than being all loose and late. You can create the timing required with your body and the brace and the platform once this is just quick and strong. For you to have your club head to work fast, you also need your hands and your arms to be able to work fast in unison or in a sequence. There's great instruction out there. They're all trying to say the same things. So it's all trying to do the right things. But I just think there's a sequence of events and no one's really talking about how to get that club head speed in a preliminary stage, and then developing the dynamic movement along with it at a later stage to sort of complement and to blend it all together.
Something I discovered a couple of years ago are the Victory insoles. Now, I know it sounds silly. You're going to just put some insoles in your shoes and suddenly you're going to play a lot better. But the Victory insoles with the carbon bottoms are absolutely game-changing for me. The reason I love wearing them, and I have worn them for a couple of years now, is because the foam inserts, you know, from these Skechers are just squidgy. So what I feel like is I'm stuck on my heels a lot of the time, and I feel like there's no, like, you know, when you push off, it's too much give, right? So what I like about the Victory insoles is that it's very firm and feels very springy, and that gives me a lot more distance, say, when I'm trying to hit the ball 300 yards. Without a doubt, I've tested this multiple times on the course and in TrackMan. It 100% adds 3 to 4 miles per hour to my swing. On top of that, I like to wear the Propulsion socks that Victory make. These have a lot of tension back here behind the Achilles, and it just helps to just keep me firmly in place, add some balance to my shot, and then I hit longer shots. The other thing that's very important though is when I'm hitting the ball longer and I'm swinging nice and loose, it can take a toll on the body if you play many days in a row. I played 7 days in a row wearing the Victory insoles in my shoes every single day. And I can get up every morning, play another round, and some days 36. As someone with a bit of a foot problem, playing golf and getting them all swollen up and getting sore, no pain. But the other thing I use between rounds, and that's why I can play 7 days in a row, are the Victory clogs. Now I'll wear these after the round when I drive. I slip them straight on after playing golf, take the shoes off, help me to recover for the next day so I can come out here and hit some more bombs. Use the link in the description to get 20% off your Victory insoles. Now when I hit 300 yards with the Victory insoles, and I've tested this too, it makes a humongous difference for the balance and the power and extra swing speed. But hey, maybe you don't believe I hit it that arbitrary number of 300 yards. Now we're going to measure that shot with the GPS watch so that I can show you 300. .300 on the dot. Can you believe that? 300 on the dot. Impact position. I always thought the impact position was just the same as address. So once you're at address, at impact you want to look like this, but that's incorrect. This is the address position, that is the impact position. Now this is a very big difference, because when I was not doing that, I was using my wrists and hands to save the shot. When I do that, my distances were inconsistent because now my hands are controlling the loft of the club face, whereas if I'm smacking this at the impact and the club is not bouncing off, if you're using your wrists, the club bounces back. If you don't, it stays in the bag. So I would hit the bag, get to a ball afterwards, one of my most important swing thoughts, especially when it comes to lower lofted clubs, to get them to go further and straighter, is to have relaxed shoulders. Because if you tense up your shoulders, okay? Don't worry about your hands and arms. If you tense up your hands and arms, you can still swing. But if you tense up your shoulders up here into your traps, you can't do anything. So I always think of noodle arms, and I hit 2 irons and 1 irons to practice this. And when I do have it on the course, you'll sometimes hear me say noodle arms. And that just means relax the arms like spaghetti, which automatically relaxes the shoulder joints. And when you have relaxed shoulder joints, man, you can't help it but hit far. Maybe the greatest 2 iron of my life.
Yeah, that's better. First thing, depend on what shot shape you're gonna hit. But for me, I like to have my spine tilting a little bit to the right. So let's say this is my hip, this is my chest. I want to see my chest a little bit behind the hip as set up. Okay, I'd like to see wide stance. It's almost like capital A. Okay, this is a basic setup, right? The grip, I like to be on the little bit stronger side, because that's gonna give you a bit more of the, release this way, which is pretty important later on. So from the side, if you set up properly, you're gonna see that my right arm gonna be a little bit lower than my left arm. My right shoulder gonna be a little bit lower. Yeah. So the first part, look from the back. My spine gonna be tilting to the right, like this. So in the backswing, I want to keep my pressure in the middle, a bit inside the right foot, but then I'm gonna try to keep my spine on the same angle. So I need to feel like I'm reaching out to the right so much. Okay. So it's not only my chest that turning to the right, but my shoulder also needs to reach to the right so much. Okay. To do that, my right shoulder gonna get behind a bit. Yeah. So if you look from the side, it's gonna look like this. It might look a bit ugly, to be honest. Some people don't like it. Some people like it. I don't care about it. So this way, I'm gonna have my hand up like this, and I'm gonna abduct my shoulder, and then I'm gonna start turning, and I'm gonna tilting, and start turning. Now you can see that I'm a little bit across the line, just because I turn a bit more. Some people like it to be this way. Like if I'm not abduct at all, I'm gonna keep it this way in front of me and rotate. Then I'm not cross anymore. Yeah, but like I have less range of motion. So for me, I'm gonna be 3 stuff that I do in the backswing that I never gonna let it go. First thing is right pressure inside right foot. Backswing, keep my spine on the right side. Third thing is to have my hand high. Keep my hand high and abduct. So I don't care if I'm gonna look a little bit across the line at the top. Yeah, because if I'm high enough, I'm not gonna look that bad. Yeah, but my feeling is like this in my backswing. This is my feel.
Get the hands as far from you.
Yeah, as far from me as I can, and then like, I'm not gonna try to keep it in front of me. I'm gonna get it back. Yeah, get it back so I can get a bit more speed. But this is cruising speed. Like I'm not trying to do long drive. If I try to do long drive, I'm gonna go that even more. Yeah, but like I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm too small now. Yeah, so like that. In the downswing, I would do something like this to feel the first part of the downswing. This can be used in the backswing as well. So like you keep your pressure inside, you reach to the right, you get your hand high. I get my hand high, not you. Okay, get my hand high. And then the first part of the downswing, I want to feel like I'm pushing away from that side. It's almost like I try to kick this thing up. So you can see that. And then I'm gonna try to keep my mass on the right side. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my mass on the right side, but like, I'm trying to get my pressure from the right side to the left side, like boom, like that. This is acceleration, but like something like this. Okay, so I'm here, I push to the left, and then I'm gonna start having my hand lower, because that's just how the timing works, right? But once you shift to the left, your hand gonna start lowering down a bit. Your body gonna start rotating to the side, and from there I like to feel like my hand, the cup head, is trying to get past my hand at impact. It will never does. Yeah, because like my body always gonna be fast, and everything gonna be fast enough that if I try to get my hand, my cup head to go past my hand, it will never. It will go past my hand right after impact, but not at impact. Yeah. So that's how I feel. Downswing is gonna be too fast to think about many things. So I don't really like to think about many things in downswing. And I think if you talk to many coaches, I think downswing, they're gonna say like, you can't think about a lot of stuff. It's 0.25 seconds. The worst is 0.3. If you're slower than that, that's your problem. Yeah, so normally it's about 0.3. Let's see again. So I'm gonna do everything like I said. Backswing, reach to right, hand high. Okay. Just shit some. Can I say that word? Huh? Can I say that word? Anything. Yeah, okay. I just said shit. Shit my pants. Yeah. 184. I didn't release that well. Big draw. So backswing good. Release well. Get the cup face to be square. And then hit. One 85.6. Nice. Okay,
So can you hit one hard, or do you never hit it hard?
I never hit hard. Like I don't. Yeah, I mean that's good point. Talking about that. I don't know. Like I feel like my sequence is not right yet. Like I haven't get proper sequence in my swing. That when I hit it hard, it doesn't really get out. Yeah, so like I still have a lot in my tank. If I can go back 5 years ago, I'm probably not gonna do any speed training because that actually messed up a lot of my accuracy. And I had a hard time for at least 3 years, 4 years, even at PGA. I couldn't hit driver at all. I have like a driver yips, it's just slicing, it's just hooking, I hit it everywhere. If I can go back in time, I'm probably gonna work a lot on my technique and get my technique to be better. I might try to hit harder, but not like full send. Once you do a lot of speed training, the thing is, once you go onto the golf course, it's not about what is your full send speed. It's about what is your average driving speed. And if your full send is not 20 miles per hour faster than your normal, your average is not gonna be that much faster. And it's not a pleasant feeling for you to stand on the tee box and feel like you need to full send everything on the 30-yard fairway. If you can get your technique to be better, you can easily get to speed up over time. And it's gonna cost the same time as speed training. I think speed training is good for the kids though. I think it's good for older people because like those people are muscle are not either not developed or like it getting I can't say that word, it's too hard for me. Like, you know, getting worse. You know, when you get old, deteriorate. Yeah, my tongue cannot say that word. Yeah, I think it's good, but for like, you know, 20, 30 years old, we have enough strength to, you know, swing 115 miles per hour if we have a right swing. I'm only 121, 122, and that's my cup head speed.
All right, Golf Sidekick, absolute pleasure to be on your channel. My name is James Wiltshire. I'm a golf professional from England and I'm also a YouTuber. So if you want to check out how my tournament season is going, head over to my channel and subscribe. I'd love to have you over. And I actually used to compete in long drive about 5-6 years ago. It was a fairly short-lived long drive career, about 2 years. But in that, got my club head speed to around 140. And my ball speed pushing 210, and actually got to the quarterfinals of the British Long Drive Championship and got knocked out by Joe Miller. I knocked one down there at 402 at Brocket Hall, 402 yards, and Joe Miller came in and knocked one down there at 410 yards to knock me out. So when I was training for long drive, there were a couple key things that I was working on. So the main keys for me, it started with the takeaway. Now in long drive, you'll see the guys literally ripping the club away as hard as they can. The idea is you're trying to put energy in that golf club early. That energy helps you increase your arcs. It's all about making as big a backswing as possible to generate as much speed as possible. And then because there's so much energy in the club early, that change of direction also has energy. And there's like a cascading ripple effect and it leads to more club head speed. So there's lots of drills where we would just start from here and just trying to make as big a swoosh, swoosh as possible in the backswing, just to try and get as much energy in the club early. Now, to go with the energy being in the club, we'd also try and get the hands as high as possible. That helps increase the arc. So the longer the arc, the more time you have to generate speed. So it wasn't a case of, keep this right elbow tucked in, all the Ledbetter stuff, towel under the armpits. It was, let's try and lift this club up as high as possible. And then from there, it was all about using the floor on the way down. So the term is unweighting. So you feel like you're trying to get as light as possible in the backswing, not staying in your posture. We're talking like coming out of your posture to get as high as possible. We'd try and get as light as possible so we could get into the floor and then power up. The more energy you can put into the floor, the more energy you can potentially deliver to the club head. So those were a couple keys. Taking the club away as fast as possible, getting as big an arc as possible, and then getting down into the floor and trying to apply as much force as possible to then whip energy into the club head. So these things are all long drive moves, and they're probably not going to help average day-to-day golfer. Now, two things that I will say that will really help the day-to-day golfer. I'm not going to use the word average because I know you don't like that word. And I don't like that word either. I completely agree with what you're saying. Now, number one for golfers that don't want to do long drive but just want to hit the golf ball further to do is optimize your launch conditions. So one of the reasons that Rory McIlroy hits the ball so far is not just because he swings it fast, which he does, especially for quite a short guy. He swings it very fast. He swings it upwards of, around 125 miles an hour, which is quick. But what Rory does is he hits, if you're on a TrackMan, and we're getting his numbers, he's 5 to 8 degrees up. So his angle of attack, when he's hitting the golf ball, that club head is traveling up. Now, long drive guys will be upwards of 10 degrees up. A lot of golfers go the other way. They hit down on it. And what you're doing is imparting unwanted spin. So Rory's angle of attack is quite a bit in the positive, but the key thing to remember is he's not getting it in the positive by throwing his hands at it. He's actually doing this. So the club's working up, but he's not adding loft. So because of these two factors, he launches it high, but without adding too much spin, he basically generates enough backspin to keep that ball in the air. And that's why Rory hits it further than other guys who swing at the same speed as him, is because most guys on tour they're really trying to harness their power and gain control. So most of the guys will be around 0 in angle of attack. Rory is, let's just go 5 to 8 up on it, hits high loopy draws. Loopy's maybe the wrong word, but it's high draws. You're going to benefit from hitting up on the golf ball, but making sure you don't add loft. So it's a feeling of keeping the loft down. It's almost like the back of the left wrist stays in this position. So you don't want to go this way. You want to keep it there whilst hitting up on it. Now, to aid in that, tee the ball up. Long drive guys, the tee height is incredible. And the reason they tee it so high is because they have to, because they're hitting so far up on it. If they're using a Pink Castle tee, they would literally hit the top of the golf ball. So tee it up and hit it up, but don't add loft is number one. The second thing, and I believe this is the most accessible way for any golfer to gain speed, I will preface this by saying, don't go crazy on this. If you're injury prone or you've got a bad back, go steady on this, okay? Get warmed up before you do it. But overspeed training with a stick like this is one of the easiest ways to add speed. Because essentially what you're doing is you're moving an object which is lighter than your driver, and you're training your body to move faster than it would be able to with your normal driver. Essentially, it programs your central nervous system to move quicker. Now, this is quite simple. You can do 2 or 3 overspeed training sessions a week, and all it will be is swinging. Make sure I'm going to preface it again. I can't emphasize this enough. Get warmed up. Start by swinging slowly. But then when you get into your main sets, say you do 5 or 6 sets of 6 swings with 2-minute rest in between, you're literally trying to move this thing as hard and fast as possible. You're not worrying about swing mechanics, you're just trying to teach your body to move faster than it normally would. You'll honestly be amazed how quickly you can gain speed doing this form of training. Okay, so just 2 easy things. Hit up on it, don't add loft, will produce a high ball flight with enough spin to keep it in the air, but not too much spin to get it rising up into the wind and losing distance. And the land angle then is not like this, it's more forward. and try to do some overspeed training. And it's something that long drive guys do, but that's the one thing that I think average golfers, that's the one thing I think everyday golfers, let's call it everyday, I like that term, most golfers can implement into their training to gain speed and hit the golf ball further. And I'm looking forward to the collaboration in person, whether that be in the rolling hills of Devon or whether that be in Thailand. But I think I'm going to try to get to Thailand.
Hey mate, I can see why you're hitting at 300. There's a lot of good things going on there. And what I would say is the thing I really love the most about your golf swing and what you're doing at the moment, or what's helping at the moment, I would say, is once you're at the top, you've just got this beautiful bump, shift, down, shut, pressured forward, and you've just got this little look in your knees where it's like, it looks like your knees are going down and across you a little bit, and it's not straightening up too early. You know, I love that little, I call it like a very Hogan look, or even like a very Sam Sneadish look, where it's like everything looks shut off, everything's just bumped across a little bit. And I feel that that's probably one of your best parts of your movement. For me, for someone to generate a lot of speed, etc., there needs to be a really good sequence of events. Things need to be relatively online on the way down. It needs to be shallow enough or on plane enough, where everything's not fighting behind you or going over the top or too far underneath you. That helps you accumulate speed as well. But, you know, for the public to understand, you know, for someone to hit at 300 meters or 300 yards, you're looking at a club head speed of 110 to 120 miles an hour with a driver. And obviously there's other factors involved, like the loft that you're launching it at, or sorry, the launch angles that the ball's coming off at, spin rates, etc., where you're hitting it on the face, etc. These things are affecting distance, but from a golf swing perspective, for someone to hit at 300, you know, you need to have adequate club head speed. So I just like to get people to understand that there's a lot of sequence involved. It needs to work online, and then, you know, you can sort of like just generate club head speed with good movement and just keep trying to get longer and longer and longer. You know, a really good drill that I like to see, what I've seen, I used to do as a kid. I used to do a lot of what I would say like half, three-quarter backswings, and I would just try and belt the cover off the golf ball, but stop a foot past impact. So I would just keep accelerating and just try to stop a foot after impact. That gave me a really strong left side to hit into, and that's what I see what you do really well as well. Is like as you go back, you've got this Hogan, Sam Snead look, where everything looks sort of kind of like shut off. It's bumped forward, the pressure's forward and down, enables, and it's just such a good platform to create energy, and just gives you that really solid look where it doesn't look spun out, it doesn't look like your left shoulder's high. You know, you're not trying to like turn your hips, and everything just looks like it's moving together into the golf ball, rather than something outracing something. The biggest problem that I see when I do my fittings especially is, you know, everyone's telling everyone to sort of like just turn the hips as fast as they can. And it drives me bonkers, to be frank with you, because when there's no sequence and the arms and the club head is so far behind them, because all they're thinking about is just turn the hips, it just gives you no impact, it gives you no compression. So that's something I just love to see, or what I like seeing on yours. That would be one really good drill, is just hit and hold. So half backswing, just feel a little bit of a bump with your left shoulder and your left knee and your left hip. So it looks like it's just one. It's just like a half bump, hit and hold. And just keep trying to hit that, and try to hit it as far as you can. Once you can do that, I like to go hit a lot of stingers. This is like a platform or the first stage of the stinger. Once you sort of graduate and you get some good contact and you get the feeling and you can see how it looks, you can sort of just let the arm sort of extend to like chest high on the way through. So it's still the same thing. Halfway, feel that, hit those little half knockdown punch shots, and then just graduate. You just gradually go longer and longer both ways. I find that's a great way to sync things up, keep things into perspective, give you a platform and a base and something to hit into, rather than, you know, all being loose and just wobbly. As you know, there's so many things that cause so many other things, but what I'm trying to say is that would be one really good drill, just to sort of like just gel everything together.
That's how I hit the ball over 300 yards. My way of doing it. I don't go to the gym. I don't care anymore about that stuff. I just focus on those things. You've seen from my buddies, you've seen from my coach, hey, maybe you can gain some more speed if you want, but really understand that consistent distances is much more important than super long distances. And distance under control is the only distance that counts. Good catch.